Thank you very much. We can now open to the Q&As.
I would like to know how or where you can feel there is an inspiration. There is something that's it's really, I don't know, simple or not.
So for me, actually my daily life, uh, also, when I wake up, I have a very simple ritual to have small meditation or thinking about my life, and then during that time, I have some questions in my mind, and then that questions can be the starting point of my works. And then sometimes I'm quite a good observer. So when I see something in my life, and then this question and some small kind of clues are matching, and then that's how I start my works.
Yeah, I don't think I have a like concrete inspiration, but it's similar to I have a daily practice, and sometimes I make these mistakes, and later these mistakes become something interesting, and I think that's kind of that gets me going. Like I think it's discovery through mistakes, I think. So if I show some other projects, like every kind of small thing actually happened quite accidentally, actually, and that led to like all these other things. So I would say it's yeah, just like a daily kind of like a daily ritual or daily practice, actually.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you so much for wonderful introduction of your works. It was really inspiring indeed. I observed that indeed you have a lot of common visions, approaches. You like to sit out, wait to get inspired. You need time, you need calmness and thinking. But is there something that you completely disagree with each other on? Some approach that you wouldn't accept from one another? Thank you.
That's a good question. Does that exist? Mm. As a couple, we disagree a lot, but in work, I don't know if we're disagreeing on anything. Is there something? I make many mistakes at home as a as a husband, and yeah, I don't know. In our work, I don't think I disagree with what she's doing. Like I very much encourage it, and I like what she's doing. We do this. We check each other's work sometimes. Like sometimes okay, strange. We met a tarot reading, card reading yesterday, and it was a weird card. And basically, the conclusion is I can only trust her in this world, actually, which is kind of true, actually. So everything if I want a real true opinion, and sometimes it hurts. And she's the only one I can ask. So sometimes I just want to know the truth. So sometimes I'll ask her. And I think she does the same with me. Sometimes she just asks for the truth, which we don't get. Like if you ask a friend, oh, it's great, it's wonderful. Oh, fantastic, thumbs up. Yeah, you should keep doing that. Sometimes she'll say, and that's enough to know, maybe I should try something else.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, no, in his work or in work-wise, actually, we are quite independent. So we just sometimes we show to each other, then what do you think about it? So is it okay? Do you like this color? Something like that. So sure, if you want, you are the artist. So if you want, if everything's okay. But sometimes we know this part. So when we listen to other people's opinion, and then sometimes we influence, right? So when he listened to somebody's opinion, then he's kind of figuring, do I have to change this? Do I have to do this? And then I just say, you can just do whatever you want. So that's the things. And then sometimes it's so kind of we are both of are messy, but he's so messier than me sometimes. So when you share the studio, then we just tell, can you clean this? Can you clean up? And then that's the things.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your studio practice? Yeah, you tell that is a bit messy. So how messy is it, or is there some organization? What's your typical studio day? Do you start early, late?
So our studio is a villa. It's an old villa in Yeonidong, and we both like this villa because it has the heating, the ground heating. Uh, we both love that. It looks like a regular living apartment, but and it's really messy because of me. She's pretty clean, but I'm very messy. We have two cats there because she's allergic to cats. We found out later after we brought them home. And she's like, Darth Vader at night. She couldn't sleep. So we decided we'll raise the cats in the studio, but this is a blessing because we got to go there and clean the poop and the urine every day, and we got to feed them every day. So strangely it helped our studio practice that because we got to go there every day. So they are kind of messy too. Like yeah. So we have a routine. Like we exercise. There's like a small mountain. So we exercise in the morning and then we come down and then we clean the cat stuff and then we begin working. So it's a very daily, yeah, very daily ritual routine actually. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same. So it's a kind of part of our living space too because of the cats. So everything's are quite fired up and then it's really chaotic. So if you want, you can see later. So yeah, but actually it's very strange. But even though it's really hectic, messy, but I can find there something in there. So that's a kind of miracle.
I actually have two questions for you. As you were mentioning that sometimes your installations are spontaneous. So is it easy to come with an idea or do you struggle with it?
I struggle with ideas a lot. I'm not a conceptual guy. I'm not a theoretical guy. I'm not a logical guy. So this is constantly an issue that I have because people want that from me. They want some kind of grand idea or they want some kind of something, but I'm a very feeling person and sometimes I just prefer to follow my feelings. And I learned this from a professor in the States who I respect very much. He said I can just do this. He calls it post-factual rationalization. So after making something, I can always find some meaning in it. And I think that helped me a lot because now I just kind of trust. Because before I'd sit here, I'd like write about stuff. Like I'd sit there and write all these different ideas, and then I said, but I think that process leads to less interesting results. Like because I'm like forming something in my head and I think the output looks very predictable and very familiar. But if I just follow my body, like more interesting, strange things happen. Like, so I've begun to do that, but I struggle. Like she's very good with that. Oh my God. Like I wish sometimes, yeah, I could just cosmetic surgery, take some brain, you know what I mean? I'm waiting for the technology where, you know, I have something and she can just say this. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that. Like I'm waiting for that technology because she's very good at it. So
Are you always satisfied with your work, with your final product?
not always, but yeah, I think for the most part, sometimes like yeah, like these things just happen and obviously not everything is shown or exhibited, but I think that's why yeah, we clean the cat poop and then we make something and it's a pretty good time, I think. So yeah. But obviously so that's interesting. Like I started to decide many years ago, never throw anything away. That's why our studio is disaster, actually. Because like I'll look at something 2, 3 years later and I'm like, oh, that's something that I thought was I should throw away before. So I don't know. That happens a lot.
So yeah, I think sometimes I'm not sure when it's done when I do work. So when it's done, so is it sure it's finished or not? Are you happy with that or not? Right? When you have to do something, you have to do it more or not. So I always make a question. I have a question about that. So sometimes that's enough, but sometimes I don't know. So But when, as time goes by, sometimes I look it again and still happy. Oh, that's good. But I'm quite curious still. Then I don't know. That's how it goes all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, yeah, we move to the States for a minute and then we come back here. Alex. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you both. It was a very inspirational talk. I actually share the same aesthetic and, how I kind of walk through spaces and what catches my eye. It's the deterioration of things kind of and the interaction of things with time and the layers of just the experiences some objects have over time. It's pretty interesting to me. And I'm a printmaker, Chris, and I did not take offense to your printmaking approach.
Yeah.
It's exactly how I like to print too. I feel like the printmaking process it's fun when it's used more like a means to make a mark than it is to create a perfect print. But my question goes to you, Chris, is for the exhibition where you displayed your framed prints on the floor. I was wondering, how did the audience react? When you do that, you are actually positioning the audience to walk through the space in a certain way. Did you feel like it elevated the meaning of the work? Did it make it, I don't know, more impactful? And would you do it again?
Hey, Alex, thanks for your comments. And yeah, very nice to meet you. Hope to meet you in person one day. I don't know what the reaction of that. I think people thought it was interesting. It was interesting because I wanted people to walk in and out of the work, but the curator was a bit worried that, step on things, you know what I mean? And but that didn't happen actually. And in terms of enhancing the work, I don't know if it enhanced the work, but people did think it was a kind of unique way to experience the work because I was hoping they could like kind of dip in and walk in and around, kind of like small islands. I think what it also did, it made it also feel like one work. That was something that wasn't planned, but people looked at it as like one giant work, which it was like, I think it was like 30 or 40 different small pieces, but it like on the floor, it just became one giant thing, which is something that I thought was interesting. Yeah.
An installation. So
Yeah,
you added one more dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Do you think you would do something similar to that again, or do you have a?
Yeah, I'm always thinking what's next. Like I have a couple ideas in my head, and now I'm kind of getting better with how to put things in spaces. So yeah, I have already a couple things. Several things that I want to do. So I would definitely do something similar again, but slight modifications of that for sure.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We come back to the living room.
Yes, I was curious about the statement that you said regarding that you are not a typical good morning, good afternoon couple. Is it? Could you explain more about it? You mean it in this artistic sense that you were explaining that you agree with each other very well? Is that the meaning?
I think so because I think again when I look at her work, I don't have anything. I mean, like critical, or I'm not very beautiful. Like when she makes something, I'm like, oh, that's pretty beautiful, And because people think there's always this tension in this, like, night and day type of thing between couples, and then we hear that a lot too. Like people think we're kind of similar. I don't know how she feels, but I'm very happy when I hear that. We have a similar atmosphere or vibe. We hear that quite a bit. And so I'm quite okay with that. I don't know how she feels actually, but yeah, I think she's okay with it too. So that's more of the concept. It's deals with our artwork, but also as a couple, I think we are, yeah, relatively harmonious in some ways. We fight, yeah, for sure. Yeah, many things as people do, but yeah. Did that answer you? Or do you want to?
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah. Of course, we argue, and sometimes I want to choke him. But yeah, and then we are quite similar but different. He likes pop music. He kind of listen to music all day, but I like classical or jazz music, and then I more like quiet mm, time, something like that. We have a very small different details, like, but main things to see the word or the point of view to the word or the kind of very big parts are quite similar. So I think that makes a similarity, and then we feel that more closer than difference. That's how I think.
Thank you. Another one.
Actually, I wanted to ask a question, like a few questions before, but I guess you explained some of that. So I'm just curious, as a couple living, sharing a studio together, and I was gonna say before you said it, I mean, I do kind of read sort of both of your works. There is a common theme. So would you say like you two were always attracted to sort of similar views in art, and or as time goes, you share a life and you do come up with each other's opinion, because you do say you wanted to honest opinion from each other as sort of like husband and wife can be honest with each other. How do you keep your work unique and not to be influenced by each other? Or you say, how do you find that balance?
Well, we are influenced, but I think the work still is unique because I think our processes are quite different. But I definitely, yeah, I don't know if we want to separate though. That's a good question. I'm not sure if we have a goal or objective with how we kind of talk or influence each other's work. Did I understand your question correctly? Or yeah,
The unique of the artwork, I guess it's very important to anyone, not even as artists, as I guess as an individual. So when you work close together for that many years and live together, especially sharing the studio together. So I just wonder how that works. Seeking sort of a uniqueness.
I think that's still the goal. I mean, definitely when we're experimenting, we're trying different things. We're always trying to, whether intentionally or not, trying to look for something new or something. Like the other day, I made another accident, and it's leading me into another kind of new direction, which is very exciting. But I don't think like that part of the process we were not doing together necessarily. But I haven't showed her yet, so I'm gonna show her. I get excited to show her. That happens a lot. Like if I come up with something, and I'm kind of like when a dog brings something from the outside world, and it's like super excited to show. Like that process happens a lot. Like I'm excited to show her something, and then sometimes she will tell me not so interesting, and then I say, oh, okay. So that exists too. Like sometimes I struggle because I believe in it. Like I believe I made something interesting, and her reaction sometimes, and I'm like, but it's good because it challenges me. Okay, where can I go further with this? Like the other day, I showed her something, and I don't think she liked it, but I looked at it again. I was like, I like this. Like I think this is. So I'm still trying to deal with that. Like that happens quite a bit too. I don't know. Did I answer your question? Did we answer?
Yeah, I think I understand. So it's a kind of what is the first? So egg or hen? So I think at the very beginning, so we are a really different type of person actually. So his way of working and mine are quite different. So he always makes something kind of every day, he's quite busy person to make something. But I'm a quite lazy person to make something. I always think or I always observe. I just walk. So I spend most of the time to do something else. But he's quite into the real making things. But the very strangely, the kind of the final project was quite similar in some part, in some ways. So I think maybe I don't know how to explain, but kind of shape of soul. That's how can I explain? Shape of soul can be make up a similarity, but I think my texture, my life texture, and my life experience is quite different from him. So so we are kind of different. So I think that makes difference. So he's quite fascinated with the very fluorescent colors and the very bright colors and the fast things, easily, he's kind of very attached with his way of things, but I'm quite in different ways. I'm more into the very small parts, very sophisticated things or the kind of thinkings. Plus, even though the shapes or some kind of atmosphere is quite similar, but the other part is different. So that makes the uniqueness, I think.
Okay. I really like both of your works. And I was, because you're talking about everyone is working for themselves. Did you ever consider to work together on a piece of art?
That's a good question. Not yet. We're figuring out the fall exhibit now. And I was thinking maybe because I'm interested in these kind of spatial things. I was thinking maybe I can make a structure for her pieces to exist on. Like I had that thought, but I don't know if that's working together necessarily. That's a good question, actually. I haven't thought about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's possible. And actually, we had thought about maybe we can make a T-shirt together, right? So, right, he can do something with the T-shirts first, and I can do it later. So that kind of things we had a kind of thought about it before, and the works, and maybe I think it's possible, but I think he always want to do independently. So actually, at the very first time, he studied architecture, and then later he changed graphic design, and finally he's doing by himself, make the art. So he said that the changing moment, architecture takes a lot of time, and then it takes a lot of energy working together all the time, right? So that made him uncomfortable, and then he changed his career to something else as an artist. So I think doing alone is quite important for Chris. And then for me, I'm quite I also like working alone, but I'm quite open to that. So maybe one day, if you can make the T-shirt or make it something different, then maybe you can see. Okay, thank you.
Yes, hello. Yeah, all the works resonates very much with my own practice also, and find them interesting, but also like visually beautiful, but also the process. And I have also two questions about this. One is like for you about like I'm just curious about how you make the rubbings because because they are colorful. Because usually I would use pencil or charcoal, but then you have some. I couldn't really see on the monitor how they were really. There wasn't really a close up. I'm really curious about how that works. I always like rubbings, but I never do them myself. I also like the idea about like taking imperfections from surfaces. This is also what I'm doing myself. Anyway, generally the question of imperfection I find super interesting. I also have an anecdote of tape, by the way, about imperfection. I just think there is a difference about like there's something an intended imperfection, what we might do as artists. So we work with imperfections and imperfections we see around us, which are made by maybe somebody doesn't care about it. So there is just this tape lying there for, it's just a tape, but there's so many cases where you would think, okay, there was a lot of effort doing it. Why not finishing it properly? Then I have a one question for you, Chris. It's about you mentioned the conception or the factual, post-factual.
Post-factual impressions.
Okay, I like that. This is also, I think I'm totally the same. And I'm wondering about if you're teaching also, how do you what do you come across with your students? Do you see, can you foster this methodology about doing first and then thinking, or do you feel often there's this tendency to have a reason first to do something. Do you have any struggle with that? Maybe there's two.
Yeah, I'll answer this question first and then talk about things. Yeah, when I'm teaching, I always do the same approach. Like I have them make something first, and then if they want, they can come up with an idea later. But I feel guilty because I'm not interested in the idea at all. I'm like, oh, that's your idea? Oh, that's cool. But I'm not really that interested. So that happens all the time. I think like only out of 24 students, I think 8 or 9, they like this approach. This is what I'm, the rest, I think I can feel they want this idea. They want something. They feel the need for it. I don't know what it is actually. So that's always a struggle. But it's partly my fault too, because I'm not interested in the idea. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, so it happens all the time. For the rubbings, I think I can speak quickly for her, and then she'll add to the. She's using mock this. Yeah. But for the blue ones, how did you do with the blue ones? That's a blue.
I made a something. In
A tool?
Yeah, tool. I made a tool by myself. So I, grabbed all the very different textured fabrics and then cotton balls or everything is inside. Sometimes I wanted to make something heavier, more heavier things than that. And then I made a kind of tool and then using it. And then sometimes I mix the ink or the kind of pencil ink, and then I mix some other colors together and then I made it. So, yeah, that's nice.
I was curious about when I saw the first pieces with the hue and the back side of the line up. What is the yes, calligraphy? Yeah. I was wondering if there was any message that you wanted to communicate to the person.
Okay.
Said,
Yeah.
watch it. And also if it was more of an inner dialogue going on or expressing a certain message that could be universal, not just to Koreans or to people who can understand the texture or the tools that you've used.
Yeah, I think the latter is more closer. So I do not intend to give a message or persuade to somebody. Actually, most of the time, the inner communication, as you said, that's proper words. So yeah, always when I have a question in my mind, I try to find the answer or the kind of, I try to find something. So that's a kind of process, I think. My work is very close to the process to find the question and answer. So, but I think the shape, so that's the power of the visual things. That's a very, everybody can see something and feel something different or the same things because they have their own shape of soul, and then they have their own history. But I think they can feel something very because of the shape, I think, or some details. So I think I just make something, and then everybody has a different or sometimes very similar feelings with that. So I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, thank you. And are you planning to do some works other than in Korea in the future?
No plan right now, but yeah, that would be great if it happens. It happens.
I just wonder how you can manage to keep going, doing exhibition, and then you can post it, and you do the counseling, and then studying, and then taking a picture, writing, and all this energy come from I don't know how both of you can. Very surprising.
Yeah, I think I was born like that, I feel. So, yeah, some people I'm quite envy at them. So the person who has a one dream and then digging into it. So I'm really kind of curious and I really wanted to do one day when I was young. But I noticed that this kind of person. I'm a person who's wandering around the world and then searching for um many a lot of clues, like, and then I do something. But I think even though it looks quite different for me, it's a kind of one thing. So, and then the energy is, I think, the power of rice. It's a kind of joking, but yeah, my mom used to say that, yeah, eating good food makes you a bit healthy. So yeah, just a kidding, but I think I'm not so energetic, but so I'm quite wanting to choose what is the kind of the I have to choose. I cannot do everything at the same time. So I have to choose one by one and then I just do it when I have to do it at that time. So it looks like I'm doing very different things, but I feel it's kind of one thing. I'm living, breathing, and expressing myself in different ways.
Time is almost over. I can take one more. One more. Okay. One bonus question.
Sorry, it's me again, but just one. I was wondering, did your art meet first or you met first?
We met first.
It was not tarot or anything, so you met first and then you realized that you're thinking in the same direction and so on.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we met first. I think we had a small kind of studio, and that's where she was starting to do these fabric experiments there. But it wasn't art at the time. I think it was just kind of making these kind of fabric objects. And yeah, everything she made was cool. So yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, that's when I first saw her making artwork. But yeah, I definitely met her as a human first. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we noticed that it's actually we met first, but we very firstly noticed that, oh, he has a seed to want to make something new, and then actually I wanted to too, and then even actually we encouraged to each other to make or to create something. So that's how we grow up together. And then, yeah, I think that's the life, right? So when we meet somebody, then we got influenced, and then even whatever it is, it can be art or something else. But I think that's if it is the happiness to him, and then I just encourage them.
Thank you.
This is the perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you very much. Classic